Okay, good afternoon guys. Welcome to this session called Test, Adapt and Personalize with Optimize 360. Today I'm going to be taking you through GA360 and also going into some of the solutions, Optimize 360 being one of those. My name is Chris. I'm a sales engineer working at Google on the GA360 suite. Apologies, my Russian isn't very good, so this session is going to be delivered in English. I'll speak slowly. Just wave your hand if I'm talking too fast. The agenda for today, I'm going to be taking you guys through basically an introduction to GA360. So what Google is doing in the enterprise marketing space. I'm then going to spend 5 minutes taking you through Optimize 360. So what we're doing with regards to personalization and A/B testing. Then I know a lot of you guys in the room are using Optimize 360 today and actually have use cases and are actively using the solution. So I'm a sales engineer. I'm going to take you through the solution in a bit more depth as well. So go into a demonstration of the tool, show you what you can and cannot do with the solution, also where we're taking it with regards to the roadmap for 2017 and beyond. I've broken the sections into 3 core areas. So the first section is really going to be around testing. So this is around structure, tagging, implementation, and some best practices in terms of what you should be doing with Optimize. Not only Optimize, but also the paid-for version as well, so the enterprise-level solution. Next, I'm going to be taking you through Adapt. So really looking at the reporting capabilities of Optimize, both within Optimize, but also looking at the reporting back in Google Analytics. So the bidirectional integration there. Thirdly, personalization. It's a huge topic within the space that Optimize exists. I'm going to take you through some segmentation capabilities with Optimize and also some use cases as well. And then, probably most importantly, going to take you guys through what we're doing with Optimize, so where we're taking the free solution and what we're also doing with the paid-for version and how that looks in terms of 2017 and beyond. Cool. So before I start, I'm going to introduce GA360 and talk around why Google is moving into this space and has been there for a very long time, but also what we're doing with GA360. So does anyone in the room know what this visualization is? Guy in the corner? A few people? Okay, fantastic. So this is a visualization of the central processing unit of a self-driving car. So the self-driving car exists in the middle. If you think about the amount of data that this is absorbing and digesting, it's looking at braking distances, it's looking at speed of the car, it's looking at where the other cars are in relation to itself. It's also taking into consideration where the roads are. If you think about all of that data that it's having to process in real time, it's huge, it's astronomical. And really, this is the world we operate in today, right? There's a lot of people in this room that have to digest and make sense of lots of data. The screenshot on the screen is just an example of some of the things which are happening in an internet minute. So I arrived in Moscow a couple of days ago. I've been active on Instagram. I've been drinking a lot of Nalivka, posting it to Instagram. So you can see here that the amount of Instagram posts in an internet minute is huge. Example here, 216,000 Instagram posts in 1 minute. I've also been using Uber a lot and Get Taxi around Moscow. Also trying to access LinkedIn, but unfortunately not being able to. But you can see here that the amount of Uber rides is huge. The amount of LinkedIn accounts that are being created is also huge as well. And really, when we look at all this data and look at what consumers are doing today, it's huge. And just a few examples of me in Moscow. But a typical user in today's world is interacting with many devices around 150 times per day. So a few examples on the screen. You're not just looking at your phone, but maybe you're looking at your tablet, but also your desktop as well. So that causes challenges, right? The amount of data we have as marketeers, as analysts, is huge. And what we do with all that data, basically, we're looking at 4 key success factors. So we have huge amounts of data available to us, but there's really 4 core components which help us to be successful. First of all, being able to understand the consumer journey. So the slide before, you saw that the consumer journey is vast, it's complex. There's a lot of consumer touch points in today's world. Really understanding that consumer journey is very important to success. Secondly, being able to pull out insights and not just have access to data. Again, you saw previously the amount of data that is available is huge. You want to be able to pull out the information which is relevant to your organization, what is actually going to drive value for your organization. Thirdly, being able to share insights with everyone. 2-3 years ago, we'd be operating in silos. We would be looking at offline data sets. We'd have data sets existing in web analytics, in our conversion rate optimization tool. And it was very difficult to share those insights amongst those silos within the organization. And then finally, the fourth key success factor is really around delivering those engaging experiences. So being able to have a consistent experience with your user as they're interacting with their mobile app or their web analytics or whatever it may be. But the current environment is very challenging, right? And this is a study which Google brought out by Forrester. And there was a few key stats which Google identified and basically was the rationale for us bringing into the market the GA360 suite. Just a few ones here. The first one, really around data sources not being well integrated. So 84% of marketers thought that their data sources were not well integrated and it was hard to leverage them. Secondly, 60% thought marketing measurement tools were very difficult to use. I'll come on to show where Google is positioning itself in that space. 57% believe they're operating in silos within their organization. So you'll have a finance department, marketing, C-level execs, whatever it may be. And then finally, to wrap this up, 89% of organizations are going to be competing on the basis of customer journey. So it's very important to have that consumer journey going through. And there's a few examples of some technology that you're probably used to at Google, right? So here's some of our consumer products. And the mantra that Google has is that technology should be doing the hard work. So a few examples being Mail, Chrome, Google Maps, Android. If you think about the consumer products that you interact with today, they're very easy to use, right? They're very easy to start using features. You can pick them up within a matter of minutes. You're leveraging them pretty easily. And what we've done with the consumer products is we've built that mantra into GA360. The Google Analytics 360 suite, there's really three key things which separate it from the rest. First of all, the ease of setup. So you may have been leveraging other solutions. With the GA360 suite, we wanted to make it very easy for people investing in it to actually get value from it very quickly. So it's really around not wasting time on implementation and making sense of the data sources that you already have access to. Secondly, ease of use, right? So we want customers investing in this product and actually using it and actually getting value out of all of the features which are available to it. So the features which I'll go into in a bit more detail on Optimize are very easy to use. As a conversion rate optimization specialist, you will be able to pick this tool up and actually start to construct and build experiments very quickly. And then thirdly, probably the most important, which I believe, is that it's natively integrated. So everything we do within GA360 is natively integrated. Google Analytics forms the data foundation, but off the back of that, all of the solutions in GA360 can be activated very quickly. And we use a term, turnkey solutions. And it's really the ability to turn solutions on and start to get value from them very, very quickly. And this is the suite. So I'm hoping majority of you in the room will have seen this slide many times. Obviously, the focus for today is going to be on Optimize 360. But I'm just going to quickly go through some of the solutions and take you through so you have visibility into what we're doing. Analytics 360 being the first. Formerly Google Analytics Premium. Majority of you in the room will know this. Secondly, Audience Center 360 is really our data management platform. So it's really taking the segmentation capabilities and extending it further. So a typical DMP solution. I'll come on to Optimize. Thirdly, Attribution 360. So that really falls into three core components. First being TV attribution. So understanding the incremental impact of TV ad spots on things like Google searches or web traffic. Secondly, digital, so measuring the true value of digital attribution. And thirdly, the MMM component, so the econometric modeling. Below that, we have Tag Manager 360, so GTM. And above that, Data Studio. So just a raise of the hands. Who here has used Data Studio? Okay, cool. So we've got a few people using it. Data Studio 360 was available. We did have an enterprise solution. We've basically released it as a free solution now. We want huge adoption within the market. And we have hundreds of thousands of people using it today. And just so you're aware, the GA360 suite isn't, you hear the phrase walled garden in the industry, but we've really made it an open architecture, right? So we want to be able to put data in, but also extract data. So across the top, you have the typical integrations into the media landscape. So the likes of AdWords, the likes of DoubleClick. But we also have integrations into cloud. So Google BigQuery, hopefully a few people have been using the solution. The data coming from analytics into BigQuery is one of the core USPs and a core use case for us. And then in the top right quadrant, the third-party platforms. So being able to actually integrate into your existing ecosystem is something which is very important to us at Google. So that was a very brief introduction into GA360. The focus of this is on Optimize 360, and I know there's a few power users in the room. So I'm going to spend a bit of time introducing Optimize, but also I'm going to show you the tool itself and actually go in and show you some specific use cases. Optimize 360, though, was really brought to the market to address three challenges, right? So the first one is around data consistency. We had a lot of conversations with customers around data consistency being a true issue. So having your web analytics in one platform and then Optimize or your conversion rate optimization tool sitting in another. So you're constructing audiences in A and trying to replicate them in B. Also the same with reporting, right? So you're operating on two different solutions. What we wanted to do is make it very easy to activate Google Analytics for conversion rate optimization. Secondly, personalization. So really having the ability to create an audience in Google Analytics and be able to leverage them for conversion rate optimization. Very important to have that single customer view wherever they may be. And then finally, test management. So a lot around test creation and making sure that the rules and permissions were in place to ensure you have that kind of governance across analytics, but also governance within your conversion rate tool. Probably the most important thing that I want you guys to take away is this, right? So analytics and Optimize 360 operating on a single data source. What this means is all of the hard work that you're doing in Google Analytics can basically be replicated, is natively inherited within Optimize 360. So I think here your business objectives actually become what you're going to be leveraging within Optimize 360 for your experimentation. Also, as I mentioned, the segmentation, right? So as you're creating audiences for analysis and reporting, you can actually start to leverage those audiences for A/B testing, for multivariate testing, or whatever it may be. And then finally, the reporting cycle. So being able to pass data from Optimize back into analytics is very important. Something which, with other solutions, you're going to have to basically replicate what you're doing. With us, it's very easy to move that data between the two solutions. Okay, so that was a top-level overview of GA360, Optimize 360. Now, I'm well aware that you guys are using a lot of the tools, so I want to go into a bit more detail on three specific areas. And as I mentioned, I'll take you through the tool as well. The first section is going to be on test. So this is really around structure, tagging, and setting up experiments. So here's some best practices for you in terms of how that looks. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be taking you through structure. So really, what is the definition? Like, what do the links look like between analytics and Optimize? Tagging, I'm going to take you through how you can go ahead and start tagging, how you can start to leverage Google Tag Manager, and also other tag management solutions. And then experimentation. So I will take you through a live demo of start to finish, how you can actually construct A/B tests, multivariate tests, or personalization. So first of all, structure. And just to give you visibility into how that looks, so I have a diagram coming up, but Optimize 360 container is essentially linked to an analytics property. Then what happens is you will have an optimize experiment is essentially linked to an analytics view. I'll go into the diagram in a sec so you can actually see this visually. What's best practice is to essentially have one optimized 360 container mapped to a single site. The reason that's important is you can then start to associate 360 experiments to analytics views. Now what that means is you're going to start to be able to pull through all of the relevant data for a single experiment. So what I'm talking here is I'm talking around goals. I'm talking maybe you're pulling data from analytics into optimize. Also, the ability to link to BigQuery as well is an important thing. So being able to associate 360 to that view will allow you to basically construct that. And this is what it looks like, right? So there's a couple of options in terms of how you can integrate. This is the first one, and I'll take you through how that looks. But essentially, what you have is you will have an account, you will have a property, a view, which all exists in the analytics world. Underneath that, what you will have is the optimized container. So you will have an optimized 360 account, you will then have a container, and then you'll have an experiment. Now, the best practice in this option is to essentially have a property linked to an optimized container. What that then means is you have the ability to link an experiment coming from Optimized 360 to a specific view. Now these could be geo-regions, right? This could be Russia, this could be France, this could be Spain. So this is the first option and what most of our customers will be using. There is another option which looks like this. And it's very similar, but what customers do is under a single view, they may aggregate. So they may have an EMEA view, which encompasses Spain, France, UK. Underneath this, you'll have experiments linked, which will encompass Spain, France, UK. So you can see the slight difference there, and they're the two differences in structure. Cool, so that was structure. Moving into tagging. Some of you are probably doing it direct on the page. Some of you are maybe leveraging GTM or another tag management solution. If you're doing it with a direct implementation, the only line of code you need to apply is this. So GA require. All you're going to be doing is putting in your optimized container ID. As soon as that's in place and it's in that JavaScript code, you can start to activate your optimized account. So it's very easy to deploy if you're doing direct implementation. Secondly, is the implementation with tag management solutions. So I put up here GTM. Majority of our customers will be using the pre-built container, which exists within GTM. But as with a lot of the solutions, you can leverage other tag management solutions if you're using the likes of Telium or whoever it may be. What it looks like is essentially as it says on the tin. So optimized 360 page hiding snippet, which I'll go into in a bit more detail. You would then have access to your core data layer. Secondly, you'll have your analytics.js and optimized plugin. And then finally, your GTM, another data layer variables. So you can see it kind of sits in between what you're already doing within your tag management solution. Cool, so I mentioned there briefly the page hiding snippet. Just so you're aware, the optimized 360 tag is asynchronous. What that brings up are sometimes issues with page flickering. So what we brought into the market in the last few months is the page hiding snippet. It's essentially a line of code you can apply which will hide the page until Optimize is ready. The reason being it basically avoids that page flickering, sorry. It also helps with faster loading, and obviously it's safe and reliable as well. So this piece of code you can actually extract from Optimize. It's available today, you can pull it out, you can deploy it through GTM, or you can do it direct on the page as well. So it really depends on how you're approaching your implementation, but it's all available within the UI. Okay, cool. The next section is experimentations. This is the cool stuff. This is where I'm going to jump into the tool and show you how you can actually go ahead and build an experiment. So I'm going to start with preparing the web pages. So I'm actually going to do a live test on the Google Merchandise Store. Secondly, I'm going to set up Optimized 360 objectives, weighting. I'm going to apply targeting criteria as well. I'm then going to look at the preview, QA and launch, And then finally, I'm going to take you through some of the reporting capabilities. So important to note that the reporting capabilities exist within Optimize 360, but also you can report back in Google Analytics. And you can really extend the analysis as far as you want, right? You can extract that raw data back into BigQuery and do more advanced modeling and do some more cool stuff. Cool, so with that, I'm going to sit down here and take you through. Hopefully you can still hear me. It's going to be tricky with one hand. Let's give it a go. So, this is Optimize. So what you see on this screen is the details page. So within here, you'll basically have access to your variants, your configuration. So when I talk configuration, I'm talking your objectives, but also your targeting criteria as well. So important thing is to look at the gray bar across the top. This will give you visibility into what you need to do in order to go ahead and start to build these experiments. So you can see here that we need to apply a variant, objectives, and also targeting criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and start to build an experiment. So as you create a new variation, this will take you through to the visual editor. So this is where you're going to start to manipulate your site content and start to adjust the elements on the page. So very quickly, I'll show you what that looks like. Across the red row across the top, you'll basically be able to see your new variant against your baseline. So what your original will look like. You'll also have the ability to jump in and see as you're making changes, how those changes are going to render on different devices, be it an iOS device or be it Android or an iPad or whatever it may be. Also, as you're updating and making changes to a variation, you'll be able to see those changes updated within the change bar. So as a conversion rate optimization specialist, you can come in and see the edits that are being made and edit them or delete them. Cool. Also having access to the ability to edit CSS. So this will open an iframe. If you have CSS on the page, you can come in, edit, and adjust. Also, an important feature is the interactive mode. So this will give you a live representation of your site. So if you have things like JavaScript menus, the interactive mode will represent that data and give you the ability to interact with that site and actually be able to manipulate those elements as well. Cool. And then on the right-hand side, as you're selecting certain components, like that is an image, for example, you can use the customizer to edit specific elements. So you can remove, you can edit, you can insert, you can update specific JavaScript if you want to. You can see here you basically have access to the raw source. This is where you can extend the case study and extend the use case for Optimize 360 beyond just moving certain elements or deleting certain elements. So in this example, I'm going to remove that image. You'll notice that it just completely removes it from the site. And also that the change bar has been updated. So with that, I'm going to quickly jump back into the tool. You'll notice that as I've made that change, it's automatically been updated on the variant 1. So we actually have a difference to the baseline now. So jumping in and showing you some of the objectives, this is really where the power of Optimize comes into play. So this is the ability to take your goals, which exist within Google Analytics, and actually use those goals for experimentation within Optimize. As you can see here, we're pulling through goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, whatever it may be, maybe cart abandon or completed purchase, etc., etc. In this example, I'm going to select a goal, let's say goal 1, purchase completed. Then we move into targeting, right? So we're going to actually start to select when is this experiment going to run. So what you see here is the total percentage of visitors that you're looking to target. This is a slider. You can adjust the percentage however you want. Also applying different weightings. So maybe you want a 30-70 split because you're doing it on a high volume page. And then probably the most used feature today of Optimize 360 is moving into the specifics around the targeting criteria, right? So I'll stand for this so you guys can see, but essentially we have within the tool the ability to actually start to leverage Google Analytics audiences. So this is what I was talking about previously around you're building these audiences based off of your analysis. Maybe you're splitting demographics and you're looking at people that have purchased a certain product. You're going to be building audiences in analytics, which you can leverage straight away and optimize. This is a core differentiator to Optimize 360 above other solutions. And it plays on the conversation I was talking about previously around having that simplistic architecture and that seamless integration with solutions. So some simplistic use cases here, using things like URLs, using behavior, using geo. Some of the more advanced capabilities when you start to move into the things like targeting users based on their cookie. So maybe you have an authenticated user, a logged in user, or it's a new visitor. You can start to target them based on that particular cookie. Also things like custom JavaScript. So if you're running custom JavaScript, you can use that to trigger these experiments. Also things like query parameters, and if you have a data layer available within GTM, for example, you can log straight into that variable and actually use that as the basis for your targeting. For this, I'm going to select just an audience and use that as the foundation. And you can see if I go back to the gray bar across the top that we have now gone from setup and we're ready to go. So without me speaking, you can see that as a conversion rate specialist, you can have an experiment up and running within a matter of minutes. It's very, very easy to do if you have that Google Analytics in place. Cool. So let's say the experiment is run, and you now have some reports available for this particular experiment. The reporting, as I mentioned, exists within Optimize, and it's very good. It will give you a top-line view as to how the performance looks. It's a similar card format to what you're probably used to in other solutions, but essentially it will give you visibility into the amount of sessions that have been exposed to a particular experiment. Secondary, you will see the baseline, and you'll see all of the variations of that experiment and how that has performed against the baseline. So maybe you've seen an uplift in conversion rate, or you've seen an uplift in dwell time. Finally, on the bottom is session duration over time. You'll also see things like conversion rate over time as well. So it'll give you a good visibility into how that performance looks. The real value is when you start to integrate it back into Google Analytics, right? So having the ability to not just exist within conversion rate optimization of Optimize, and hopefully this works with Wi-Fi. Fingers crossed. There we go. So having the ability to view this information back in Google Analytics. Now this is really, really important and is very, very useful for extending the reporting capabilities. And remember, it's operating off of a single data source. So the data you see in Optimize will be very, very similar to what you're seeing in Google Analytics. This is the behavior tab of GA. You'll see experimentation across the right and also the different variations that you're delivering. Now it's important within here to know that you can actually extend the analysis further. You can drill down further, apply additional segmentation. You can pass this raw data into BigQuery and do more complex analysis. It's really limitless in what you can do from an analysis perspective. Cool. Let me jump back into the presentation. Perfect. So just a few advanced tips on setting up experimentation, and these are just to do with preparing your web pages. A couple of things to be aware of. The first one, that you should make sure that no client-side redirects are in place. This can affect the experimentation and the setup of those experiments. Secondly, the content changes not exceeding 15 kilobytes. Again, they can cause some friction and some issues when actually setting them up. Optimize 360 will update the web pages, but it does not host external files. So if you're looking to leverage files coming from, I don't know, you're hosting them somewhere on a server, it's not going to have that ability. You basically need to leverage them from your own machine. And then things like updating dynamic elements. As you saw previously, that's where you should start to leverage the interactive mode. It's very important to be able to basically use that to update. There's a lot of times where you have JavaScript menus or dynamic elements on the page. The interactive mode was built into the tool to allow for you to do that. I've lost my clicker. Cool, so the second part is adapting, and you saw very briefly some of the reports in Optimize. Just wanted to highlight some of the reports which exist, but also some of the capabilities as well beyond what you saw in the demo. We use Bayesian statistical analysis for our reporting, which exists in Optimize. It's the reason we use that is, one, for us, we think it's a robust method for analyzing. Especially on A/B testing, multivariate testing. But it's also going to give you insight into the probability that a variation is going to be successful above and beyond the original. Secondly, the reporting, the analysis is optimally balanced. So what this means is we can actually start to direct traffic to a winning variant automatically. So if the solution is seeing a conversion rate uplift on one variation, we can actually start to direct the population towards that winning variant. And then thirdly, anomaly detection. So because all of this is built on the Google Analytics architecture, anomaly detection is very easy to do. It's a single data source that we can start to leverage very easily. And then just a little bit on the Bayesian Inference. It's basically looking at consistency of conversion rate over time. And what you'll see within the tool is you will see within some of the reports the probability to beat the baseline, but you'll also be able to look at conversion rate over time. So it's basically aggregating, creating a model, and understanding how that variation is going to perform, future looking. And as I mentioned, the important thing to note is the fact that you can pass this data back into Google Analytics. So a few dimensions, a few metrics which you can pass back, things like experiment name, experiment ID, variation index. Some of these components automatically will appear back in Google Analytics for you to start to leverage. Okay, and moving into personalization. So I have a few audience tips for you, also a few personalization use cases. I'll then jump into the roadmap and show you where we're going with personalization. So looking at personalization within Optimize 360, as I mentioned a few times, you can basically leverage the audiences that you already know about and start to leverage those GA audiences very quickly. You can reach users based on any action, and I'll show you what the tool looks like and show you how you can construct these audiences based on things like behavior, interactions, sequence of events, whatever it may be. And thirdly, always being able to understand the impact. So understand how your personalized experiences are actually performing for your business. It's very important to kind of bring that to life. So some audience tips for you for the guys in the room that are using Optimize 360 today. New audiences are pre-populated with up to 10 days of analytics data. So you can look retrospectively back and pull through historic data of maybe users that you've created for a certain report previously. Secondly, audiences cannot currently be included using Google demographic data. So you're probably used to things like affinity in market. Some of that data can't be pulled through and actually leveraged for activation through the Optimize 360 tool. Today, audiences from the user ID perspective cannot be used. It will be coming, but it's currently not supported in today's version. It might take some time before a user is added to an audience. We actually have some developments coming with regards to real time and being able to create an audience in GA, populate it in Optimize very quickly. An audience membership, kind of an extension of that, is evaluated in real time and basically will be updated as a user falls into that segment. So a few personalization use cases. In green on the left are some very easy to use segments and actually ones which will get value out of very quickly. Looking at things like macro segments, so customer tier, are they new or returning customers? Have they purchased certain products? That's a typical use case is exclusion of customers or showing an upsell opportunity to a customer that has purchased a certain product. Also, you can start to deliver the experience to 99.9% of users, or the other way around, 0.01% of users. So you can start to apply different weightings on that use case, on the personalization side of things. And time-bound variation serving as well is another important one, and one which a lot of our customers are using today. Not currently supported, but there will be some updates to the tool, which I'll take you through very, very soon, but things like microsegments. So if you think about recommendation style engines, that currently isn't available, but we're doing more in that space with regards to personalization. There'll be updates to the solution coming. Serving a variation to 100% of users. So at the moment it's 99.9%, as I mentioned. At the moment you can't direct all of your population towards one variation. That currently doesn't exist. You'd basically have to set this as a variation, which is the third point. Okay, cool. This section is around state-based audience support. So is this screen familiar to you guys? Probably seen it within Google Analytics, the audience creation. Okay, perfect. So what we have is a condition on the left-hand side. Here, what you can start to do is create really precise audiences, which evaluate in real time based upon their interaction. So you can construct really complex audiences using Boolean logic to say, okay, I want this audience that have seen these particular impressions, that have maybe added these products to cart, and then maybe have bounced off the site. You can create these state-based audiences and pass them into Optimize very quickly. So to kind of close this section out, and then I'll move into roadmap very quickly, I just wanted to give you 4 key elements and what our mantra is at Google in terms of conversion rate optimization and for how you guys should be using CRO tools like Optimize. First of all, test everything. So everything from call to action, buttons to personalized homepages. Test everything you have available to you and be able to learn and react very quickly to how things are operating. Secondly, run well-planned experiments with clear results that drive action. To have a goal in mind of what you're looking to do and make sure you have a plan in place in order to achieve that. Thirdly, one of the most importantly, but pay attention to what the numbers are saying. So use the reporting in Optimize, extend the reporting in Google Analytics, push it into BigQuery and do more advanced capabilities. Really look at the numbers and use those numbers to inform your next experimentation. And then fourthly and finally, fail often and learn from those. So make mistakes, understand from those mistakes what you did wrong, and then start to counteract and create new experiments based off of your learnings previously. If you follow these 4, it typically works pretty damn well, and Optimize 360 can allow for that in each of those 4 stages. Just a case study for you. The Motley Fool, it's an organization which looks at stocks and gives information on stocks and trades. They had a huge investment in analytics, so they were using server-side hit reporting. They actually managed to map offline and online and have 99% accuracy with their own offline systems. They used analytics and Optimize 360, and they used testing across the whole organization. They used it as a single source of truth because there was that single data set existing between the two. They managed to democratize across their teams and made it very easy for analytics guys to actually start to implement conversion rate optimization tests. They went from essentially 2 to 3 days to 10 minutes to deploy an experiment. So what you saw previously in the demo I went through, you can go very quickly from analysis and analytics to A/B testing within Optimize 360. So you can see here that we're making it very, very easy to get up and running. Okay, now for the good stuff. Optimize 360 roadmap. So this is going to take you through, albeit very briefly, what we're looking to do with both Optimize and also Optimize 360, the paid-for solution for 2017 and beyond. I just have one slide on this, and I think we'll probably wrap up. A couple of slides, sorry. Just so you're aware, Google Analytics 360 Suite was launched in March 2016. We then, 2 months later, launched Optimize 360. And as you're probably aware and heard, we obviously have Optimize Free, which is now out of beta. So this is live as of last week. And we actually have hundreds of thousands of people who actually signed up to leverage the free solution. So where are we taking the product? I'll read the top line because this is something which is important and what we want Optimize 360 to be known for. But it is essentially an experience optimization tool that enables customers of all sizes to optimize user experiences and business metrics across every customer touch point. So that last bit is very important and will feed in nicely to the roadmap. Optimize on the left-hand side, we have huge amounts of customers using it, as I mentioned. We also have a lot of customers using all of the features. So they're looking at goals, they're looking at the segmentation capabilities potentially with 360. They're creating many, many experiences for their customers. Really for Optimize, we want organizations thinking about creating experiences. So actually creating experiences for their customers and not just showing it a static experience. On the right-hand side of the table, Optimize 360 is really around getting customers to better integrate their data sources. So integrating offline into Google Analytics, using Google Analytics to power conversion rate optimization, leveraging BigQuery for more advanced use cases. And secondly, running many experiences across all their consumer touchpoints. As I mentioned, it's an important note. Part of the roadmap below that, so for those of you in the room, I've tried to color coordinate a few of the words, you know which solutions I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I can't name them, but it's coming as part of the roadmap. What we're looking to do is kind of two core elements: a tighter integration into media, so having the ability to integrate into some of that media landscape which exists within Google, and also think A/B testing for apps. So if you think of the solutions which Google has available today, being able to leverage the power of Optimize within that app domain is very important, and what we're looking to build and bring to market as of Q2. So there's going to be integrations there. There's going to be many more things as well. I can't talk in too much detail around them, but there's going to be much more advancements with things like multi-funnel, multi-page experiments, more reporting capabilities. Personalization is very important as well. So being able to do more with the segmentation which exists within Google Analytics and actually start to extend that use case further and start to do more advancements in personalization. So that was everything from myself. Thank you very much for listening to me. I think we're out of time, but thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Коллеги, у кого-то есть вопросы? Бегу.
Спасибо. Chris, I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
One question about our retailers named refrigerator rates. Некоторые наши интернет-магазины говорят о такой вещи, как гонка с холодильником. То есть ты нашел один холодильник, да, и он с тобой потом по всем моделям, которые используют данные, начинает гоняться. Как уйти от вот этой навязчивой старой модели таргетинга или вот этой привязки к экспериментам клиентов, чтобы, грубо говоря, чтобы клиенту предлагался динамический выбор, а не вот эта устаревшая модель одного и того же, что он купил или от чего-то он отказался от покупки.
If I can answer that question, I'm truly amazing at Russian.
Я как-то и по-русски не понял. Больше похоже на ретаргетинг, чем на...
Okay.
Ну, да.
Right, okay, I think I got you. So it's really around the segmentation side of things, making sure you're not pestering users based upon retargeting and making sure that you're moving to a more dynamic way of retargeting and conversion rate optimization and personalization. Is that right? Perfect. So that is really a question with regards to your segmentation. I speak to a lot of customers that are moving into the world of segmentation and personalization. What we say to them is it's very important to start to construct a segmentation strategy. Start with a phase one approach, which is very simplistic. So looking at users that have maybe converted on certain products, or are new users, or or existing users with certain products. Start simplistically. Use that segmentation to power your media buys. but also make sure you have a consistent experience with conversion rate optimization, so on-site personalization as well. So having that ability to use a single framework and a single segmentation allows you to then extend that further. And the example of refrigerators, for example, is a great example, but starting to use that experimentation, the segmentation, and start to extend that further using more things like I mentioned, some of the segmentation capabilities, state-based audiences. So updating that audience in real time using new data that you're gathering through analytics. And that's going to help you both in the media side of things, but also on-site as well. I hope that answered your question to a certain degree.
Есть еще у кого-то вопросы?
Chris, thank you.
No problem.
Where to find information about statistic distribution and parameters used in Bayesian model in Optimize?
Yeah, good question. So we actually have a white paper available, which goes into the Bayesian side of things. The white paper itself is about 80 pages long. It's a study which is pretty extensive. We're working with product at the moment to simplify that down and give a market-friendly version of how we're approaching Bayesian and what we're looking to do with that side of things, with the modeling. So expect more to come from our product. It'll probably be released on the Google Analytics blog, and it will take you through kind of the statistics and some of that modeling capabilities. So expect more from products.